Guys, you might have seen this Bitcoin chart floating around Twitter, floating around socials. It's actually quite a scary chart. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to play out, but in this video, we're going to talk about what this chart is, what I'm seeing on it. We're going to talk about some of the RSI information and some of the bottom indicator information. I know a lot of people don't use this indicator. It's one of my favorites. And it's a little bit concerning. I would say the macro is so super bullish right now that I don't know if this is 100% going to be a threat, but I like to look at all different charts and patterns and try and build confluence. Again, we're comparing against 2021, 2017. Very different cycles, guys. We're in a completely different cycle, but sometimes these charts can play out. So, hey, let's look at it anyway. Let's look at the data. So, really interesting. It's kind of like this massive broadening wedge kind of pattern that's played out. Now, this goes all the way back to 2017, and then it taps resistance at 2021, and ironically lines up today as a resistance, and both of the monthly candles have actually rejected from this level. So we had a few rejections here. We had two rejections here on the monthly candle. The second rejection was actually the start of a pullback. And even the first time we had two rejections on the monthly, so we tapped it again, and then that was the final leg to the downside. The second one was the final leg to the downside. The second one was the final leg to the downside, and we've just tapped it again for the second time. So I love consistency and I love patterns, and we definitely do have some patterns here. Now, I'm not saying this is going to play out, especially if the USA accumulated strategic reserve. I'm just saying we do have a pattern here. It's consistent. We've tapped this level multiple times. We tapped it twice and we had reversals. Also, the bottom side has also tapped a few times. Okay, so we tapped it pretty much twice before it rallied to the upside. We tapped it again twice before we rallied to the upside. So we've got definitely a pattern that I would look at for confluence, and I would chart this along with all of the other indicators we have as well. So let's have a look at the RSI, specifically last cycle, okay? Because, 2017 was a different market, completely different market. At least last cycle, we had the start of some adoption, right? We had Elon Musk coming in, Fidelity was in, a lot of companies were starting to buy Bitcoin heavy, and we started to see some sort of adoption. So what happened at the top of the last bull run? The RSI, again, you've probably heard me talk about the RSI quite often. I won't solely trade off the RSI. I will take it in as confluence with a lot of other signals. The RSI at the top of last cycle was completely overbought and then rallied down to the bottom to completely oversold. The RSI back in 2017 completely overbought, then went all the way down to oversold in the bear market. Where is the RSI right now? Pretty much overbought. Okay. Now we were overbought here. We had a small pullback, and then we're coming back into overbought again. Okay, so we definitely have some sort of similar signals to when we tapped the top resistance. We were overbought, top resistance overbought, top resistance entering overbought. Okay, so we have some confluence here now. We've got two different types of signs that say, hey, history doesn't tend to repeat, but it tends to rhyme. And these have matched the previous cycles. So let's look at our bottom indicator and see what that's saying. Now, the last time Bitcoin bottomed in 2017, the bottom indicator flashed green towards the bottom of that bear market, and that would have been a great time to buy. Okay, then you had the massive rally to the upside and you had the bull run. Now, as you entered the bull run, notice how the volume and the bottom indicator actually started to drop off as you went in. So let's look at the next cycle. Bottoms indicator just happened to time pretty much the bottom again. We get all these green bars flash up. It was the bottom of the market. The SMC bar also flagged the buy signal as well. So not only did you have the green bars, you also had the buy signal. So there's so many indicators that are going to help us find these floors each cycle, guys. Just like last time, the buy signal in 2019 from the SMC bar flagged in line with the green indicators, RSI oversold, buy signal from the SMC bot, and then absolute moonshot, right? I think the price down there was like $4,000, and it went all the way up to 64, even 68,000. So, okay, so we've got third piece of data here. What happened in the last cycle? Bottoms indicator completely rallied. Now look at the volume drop off here on the bottoms indicator. Very similar to what we had in the last pullback, right? the volume and the buy pressure is starting to slowly subside, but we don't see any green bars, and usually the green bars is an indication that we are about to see a lot more upside and that the buy pressure is considerable. So we've got three different points of levels here that indicate that we are getting into an area where it wouldn't be such a bad time to take some profits off the table, in my opinion, guys. Okay, this is just my strategy. This is just what I'm doing. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. You can lose all your money in crypto. This is just what I'm looking at. Now, if you look at socials and if you look at crypto Twitter, if you look at a lot of the psychology across socials right now, people are getting very desperate. You're seeing a lot of posts of, guys, it's going to be okay. We're going to see one more pump. We're going to see one more pump. This infamous one more pump, one last pump, is what sucks a lot of people into losses as you go into a bear market. Okay, so everyone is getting greedy. Humans by nature are very, very greedy. And everyone's waiting for this one more pump. And then what happens? Everyone is expecting the same thing. The market does the opposite of what the majority expect. And then you tend to see the start of a correction or a pullback. Okay, everyone is hoping for one more pump, in my opinion, to take some profits off the table, right? To take some money out of the market. Some people who got in late to the cycle, for example, they didn't buy with us back in 2022, 2023. They got in a little bit late. They got sucked into the FOMO. Now some of those people are actually down because, I don't know, maybe they bought Solana at the top, maybe they bought Casper somewhere near the top, and it's had a 40%, 50% correction. So they might even be down 50% on some of their bags. Now, the difficult thing for those people is when they are down 40%. So let's say, just to make it simple, let's say they put $1,000 into the market and they're down 40%. So they're sitting on 600. It's very hard for them to sell, and they get sucked. Those are the people who actually get sucked in the most into the hope, because they're already down $400 from their $1,000, and they don't want to sell at a loss, right? They don't want to sell and take a 40% loss. The hope really helps them, and they have a target. Like, they'll say, look, even if I get back to $2,000 or $3,000, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to sell. So those are the people that tend to get wrecked the most, because they will hold and hold and hold all the way down. Whilst the people who got in early in the bear market, they can't really lose, right? Because they just sell on the way up. They just take profits. As it goes up, they just take profits and profits all the way up. So it's a very, very dangerous time because of how much Bitcoin has pumped. Okay, this isn't the start of a bull run. When the start of the bull run was down here, guys, when Bitcoin was at 16,000, it's now at 110,000. Don't forget, this was an absolute dream for everybody who was accumulating down here. Just going past all-time highs was a dream. And humans have very short memories. So what happens when we get past all-time highs? Greed really starts to set in, and everybody's like, wow, we're going to 100k. Then we're now sitting at 105k, by the way. Just being at 100k was a dream, right? There was a lot of disbelief when we hit 100k across socials. Now everyone is comfortable, and when is 120k? When is 150k? When is 200k, right? Everyone has got so comfortable being at 105k. It's almost scary how fast the shift in mentality changes. It was a dream of reaching 100k, an absolute dream. And as you guys know, I actually took a lot of profits off the table on some of my Bitcoin longs at around 96k, 94k. I'd made hundreds of thousands of dollars on my long positions, and I was like, I don't care if it goes to 150. All right, I've surpassed my targets by my wildest dreams. And it can all come crashing down very fast, right? I mean, if you look back here, it came down 70-80% in a very short amount of time. If you look here, it completely melted and went from 68k down to 16k in a very short amount of time. We have had a very big push to the upside. A lot of people have made a lot of money in a very short amount of time. We've got multiple signals here that indicate that we are at some sort of resistance level. We know that on the second monthly candle, we actually rejected off this level. So if anything, if we are looking at data and charts, we should see a potential rejection at this level. The only reason I'll say this time is different, those famous last words, is that we do have Donald Trump as a president. People inside the White House are very bullish on getting a strategic reserve. My only concern is that this reserve is going to take a lot longer to be approved. I think it's going to be a lot less than everyone is expecting that gets approved. I don't think they're going to be buying trillions of dollars. Cynthia's already mentioned about putting $20 billion in, which is still less than Michael Saylor's put in over the last 2 years. And that's her first initial go-to price. So if the courts come back and the House comes back and says, hey, look, we know you want 20, but we'll do 10 or we'll do 5, that's going to be FUD, right? It's going to be a little bit of FUD. It's going to be great that they've actually started accumulating. Maybe we'll get some more countries accumulate. I'm just saying we're not down here right now, okay? If it was down here and we were having these conversations, it would have been a different story. We were very fortunate this cycle. It was one of the easiest cycles that we've had, simply because we had BlackRock pretty much say, hey, we're going to launch an ETF. You're going to have billions and billions of dollars come in. And everybody knew that once that ETF got approved, that lots of institutional clients were going to have access to Bitcoin. Even retail, there's a lot of retail who don't want to go and buy and have some wallet that's written down on a few words that they have to keep in a box somewhere. A lot of people don't like that and they want to purchase through ETFs. And the downside to that is we didn't see the money trickling down, right? Loads of retail money went into ETFs, and I don't think many people expected so much. I think Fidelity actually said that I think it was like at one point over 60 or 70% of the inflows were actually retail, not institutions. So there is still a lot of boomers and a lot of people sitting on the sidelines who still don't like to use decentralized applications. So that money has not been trickling down into Ethereum, into altcoins like we've seen this cycle. So really interesting chart. Now, if we look, this is quite interesting. So if we look what happened in 2021 when we had this rally to the upside up to 68k, where did we pull back to? Where was the correction? So we pulled back. Now don't forget, this was the really bad bear market, and the banks started to collapse. The macro was horrible. But we pulled back to this trend line. Okay, so this previous trend line to the T, very interesting. But more importantly, we pulled back to the previous high. So if we draw a line here, so where Bitcoin's previous high was, it's exactly where we pulled back to as support. Okay, so it come back and tapped the previous high. A lot of people are actually talking this as a buy zone, and congratulations to you guys because you absolutely nailed it, right? I didn't think we were actually going to come down this low. I started to actually DCA into Bitcoin too early and some altcoins. I got some altcoins a little bit too early too. Because I thought we were going to potentially hold 30k, right? And got sucked into a lot of the stuff that people are talking about on socials right now, right? This time's different. Elon Musk is here. A lot of the companies are here. I got sucked into it, and I wish I'd have just stuck to the basic principles of pumps and pullbacks. So we came back to the previous high. Now, where was our previous high this cycle? Our previous high was sitting at the candles closed at 61k. So we'll go with where the candles closed because it came back to the candle close on almost the candle close on the previous cycle. So let's look at the candle closes. So somewhere between 61k and 64k might actually be the new pullback zone. So it would be very interesting to see if that is our new floor and we come down to the previous high, because a lot of people are going to look at it and think, well, Bitcoin actually held up on the previous high before. The only problem with this is that if we do pull back here, so let's say we do have a correction or a pullback here, and we have a comeback to the previous high, so sitting around, I don't know, 61k or so. It's not going to be it's not going to be a 70-80% correction that we usually have. Now, maybe we do see a slightly lighter correction because of the institutions getting in, because of countries accumulating, because of the ETFs, because of BlackRock. Pension funds are accumulating. They don't tend to be the type of investors, pension funds, who buy in December and then sell in March or April or May, right? It tends to be a long-term play. So one thing we can expect is that a lot of these funds and companies and institutions will actually DCA on the way down. So we might see a lot more institutional buy pressure as we see a correction or a pullback from BTC. So it's going to be very tricky because my degen side is going to say, hey, look, it's institutional cycle, probably going to find a floor here. It's the previous high. And I'm probably going to get bullish. The problem is we're so used to seeing a 70 to 80% correction time and time again. and a 70% correction from here is probably going to take us down to, let's actually work out where that would be. So a 70% correction, let me see if I can get I just have to get rid of this. 70% correction from all-time high. It's going to bring us down to around 43k. Wow, look where that actually would bring us back to, a 70% correction. If this was the all-time high here, a 70% correction, an 80% correction would bring us back to our support line. Sorry, no, this is 72% correction, would bring us back to our original support line, depending on where we hit, right? So we might go sideways for some time. If we do pull back here, guys, I'm not saying we're going to absolutely crash right now. This would bring us back to this infamous support line here again, okay? So are we actually going to pull back to this support line again? So we've got two levels here. We have our previous high, which is sitting around 62k, and then we have our previous support line, which would be around, depending on where we hit, around 38, 40k. This is where I would get max bullish, okay? This is where I'd get max bullish on accumulation and taking long positions. This held up as very good support here as well previously, right? It was previous support, previous support, previous support, previous resistance, previous support. That would look epic, and it kind of almost looks like, you know, a normal kind of bull run and bear market, right? So that would be absolutely epic as a support line. I'd have no issues buying there, but the only issue with that is we would have come much below our previous highs in an institutional cycle, okay? So it's going to be very hard to predict. It's going to be very hard to predict. You know, this pullback, a lot of people were saying it's going to come back to previous highs. It did. You had support here. Okay, we also dropped just below the SMC bot. So it'll be very interesting if we drop just below the SMC bot. Again, it is kind of going to bring us back to these kind of levels. So that's where I'm looking at BTC. In terms of the bull run, a lot of people have been fudding me out recently saying, why are you taking profits? You know, why are you selling? We're going much higher. I mean, we bought in down here, guys. So we bought in here around $23, and I only really wanted to make a 10x, okay? On my low risk plays, not on my DGen plays. Yes, I took 20-30% of my portfolio and put it in meme coins and high risk plays, but most of my portfolio was in low risks. I mean, I'm technically a low risk investor. I'm just trying to make a 10x on my portfolio each cycle. If I can take 10k to 100k in cycle one, okay, so 10k to 100k in cycle one, and then 100k to 1 million in cycle two, to 1 million, and then cycle three, 1 million to 10 million. Nobody needs more than 10 million, okay? Nobody needs more than 10 million. Just the interest on 10 million alone is crazy. If you know what you're doing, you can get like 8% interest in Web3, safe Web3 as well. And nobody needs more than that. And obviously, if I got to 10M, I'd probably be putting back 30% into crypto, right? I wouldn't go all in crypto if I had 10 million. Probably put 30% back in. That's still $3 million. You know, if you can 10x $3 million, you're on 30 million. Okay, so I'm just trying to make a 10x every cycle. Yes, we hit a few hundred x's. Yes, we even hit 1,000x. Happy days, right? If we can make extra DGen in, even better. But most of my portfolio goes into low risk plays like Render done a 25x, Casper done a 25x, Solana done a 10x. Most of my plays performed really well, and as you guys know, I posted this recently on my Twitter. Here were my take profits. So I posted all my take profits in the Discord. You can see here, sell alert Solana 190, took 30% off the table. This is not going back into altcoins. This is for my retirement bag. Took profits around here as well recently, took some more off the table. And this was my buy alert Solana 2394. So buy low, sell high. You don't have to be a genius in the space. Buy low, sell high. The reason 80% of people lose is because they struggle to sell. Now, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? People are 1,000%, 300%, 200% in profits, yet they struggle to sell. They struggle to take profits. And everyone who bought Solana up here is in profit. Every single person, when it hits all-time high, is won. No matter whether you got in down here, if you got in here, even if you bought the top here on the local top back in March, you're currently in profits up here. Every single person, when it hits all-time highs, in profits. Yet still 80% of people lose because why? They get sucked into the euphoria, they get sucked into the greed. They're like, they want more, and this is why we make money, because we have discipline, right? We have strategy. We know that this is all going to happen again, right? We know that this crash happens time and time again in crypto. We go into a bull run, we go into a bear market, okay? And all of the people hold all the way down and they lose most of their money, right? We buy when it goes sideways, when we get our alerts, when we get our buy signals, we buy, just like the SMC bot gave us a buy signal around here, and we hold and we take profits, okay? And all-time high is a very dangerous area too. So not only are we tapping resistance on Bitcoin, all-time high on Solana is a dangerous area because you get into that double top territory. This is why we're seeing a lot of profit taking here. We still have not closed below the all-time high on the weekly, okay? We came up and we had a rejection, and now we've had another rejection. I will say the more times you tap a level, the weaker it becomes. So if we were to continue to tap this 3 times, 4 times, the likelihood is that you are going to see a breakout to the upside. Again, this is not the worst case, in my opinion, to be taking some profits off the table. Are we going to reject here? Who knows? Nobody knows, guys. Nobody knows. So that's why I've sold most. I still have a moon bag. It's very small. It's like 20%, and you know, I don't really care. If this comes down here, I'll sell the 20%, right? If we start to lose key levels, if we drop below the previous month low, or we drop below our support, which is actually going to be around the previous month low, I'll sell the rest of my bag. You know, I'm not going to sit and wait for this, because I know how this is going to play out, guys. It's the same every 4 years. So yeah, in my opinion, not to take some off the table. If you got in here, I know, guys, if you bought here somewhere, it's very hard because, well, you probably didn't if you're in my community, because, you know, I even said I wouldn't buy Solana at $160, because how much are you trying to make? You're trying to make a 2x, and you're trying to make a 3x, right? If you don't get in down here, it's a very short window really before it starts to really rally. I probably wouldn't have bought much even past these levels, because if I don't think it can 10x, I don't buy it, right? If it can't 10x, why am I going to buy it? Why am I going to risk my hard-earned money if I don't think that I'm going to make a 10x back from this play, right? I just skip and look for a different project that can potentially 10x. So what else do we need to look at here? Altcoin's very different to crypto because Bitcoin has a lot on the table right now. Potential strategic reserves, potential countries accumulating, banks are about to be able to custody. So we might see BTC continue to trend up here. Bear in mind, we're at our famous resistance here, which isn't looking good, and we have a lot of signs here. But there is a lot of amazing things happen for Bitcoin in the macro, which might carry it. The only downside to this is that, you know, BTC dominance might continue. People might sell their altcoins to buy more BTC because it's a lower risk play. Altcoins might continue to have a sell-off as more and more people go into BTC. Then crypto tends to go down, and then retail tend to sell when they see red in the market. So they're going to see Bitcoin going up. They might see altcoins going down, which means there's more sell pressure on altcoins. The altcoin market has been absolutely battered. There's millions of altcoins now. It's not like last cycle where we had a few thousand. There is millions and millions of altcoins, and there might even be 10 million by the end of this cycle. The dilution is wild. People are degenerating into more and more high-risk altcoins. I think it's been a pretty good cycle. Everything has completely rallied. I say everything. Most things have completely rallied. Even the projects that underperformed, like Stacks, are still up like 200%, 300% from their bottom. We didn't have nowhere near the cycle we had last cycle. Okay, we didn't have anywhere near that. And again, that does come down to the amount of tokens, right? If there's only a certain amount of tokens and all of this money floods into the market, it all goes into specific tokens. The altcoins, the market caps are so small, the choice is so low that those market caps tend to lift, and everybody in those altcoins starts to make more money. And then they tell their friends, hey, I bought Cardano and I'm up like 300%. You need to buy this. I just bought BNB. It's going to the moon. You need to buy this. I just bought Matic. It's done a 20x in a year. You need to buy this, right? It becomes organic growth. Now, what happens if we have altcoins just melting and melting and melting to the downside? Like WIF is just dire right now. Now, there was loads of retail that got sucked into WIF, and it's just down, and all of those people who held with conviction are sitting like 86% losses, 90% losses, right? So those people aren't telling their friends, and their friends are asking about crypto, and they're like, oh, you know, it's not looking too good for me right now, right? I got wrecked. The organic growth really struggles when you don't have this up-only mentality and movement in crypto, okay? So it's a little bit concerning. Look, am I calling the top of the market? No one can predict the top of the market, guys. I'm probably going to get lots of FUD saying, you know, US are buying altcoins. For me, a lot of these things are signs, you know, some of the bullish catalysts right now, when these things happen, sometimes they're the top, right? Sometimes they are the top. When crypto runs on speculation, like the speculation about the ETF pretty much drove us all the way up here, right? The speculation about money coming into the market from the ETFs. Then there was the speculation about Trump and the strategic reserve. Then we went from like 65k up to 110k. A lot of crypto pumps are driven off speculation, and when that event actually happens, there's not many events to carry you up, right? To keep carrying you up, and it's happened. And what's next? What's going to drive us next? Did you see how much focus there was around the FOMC? Everyone was talking about it like it was the next big catalyst to help us go to the next level, right? They were even clinging on to the FOMC being this major event. People were talking about we're going to get interest rate cuts, and you know, we didn't get any cuts. It feels a bit desperate in the markets. Everybody feels a little bit desperate, and you know, everybody's waiting for this one last pump. The smart money have started selling aggressively, so they started to take some profits off the table, and the smart money have not even taken anywhere near 30% off the table, right? They've still got the VCs still have so much money in altcoins, guys, and when they decide to exit, when they decide to get out, it's going to hit the whole altcoin market really bad, which I'm worried about. So if you think this is bad, things are going to come down 90% from where they are today, okay? So just because we're down 86%, don't forget those altcoins can still come down 90% from today. So, you know, if you had like we talked earlier, that 1k bag, I think this has absolutely got wiped out. If you had a 1k bag, it can really come down, like all the way down to a 1k bag could come down to $50, right? It could come down to $50. It could come down to $30. I saw things last cycle go from $1 to 1 cent. Okay, so $1 to 1 cent, which means, you know, if you had 100k in that project that went from $1 to 1 cent, you'd have 1k. You'd literally go from 100k to 1k. And I've seen it happen, and I don't want to be that sucker. I'm not getting sucked into the greed. I'm not getting sucked into the euphoria. If I can just do 10x every cycle, I'll have 10 million in a couple cycles, right? Or maybe in the next cycle. So yeah, that's it for now, guys. I am going to do more of these educational videos as we go into the bear market, because I think it's very important. I got hit hard last cycle. I did luckily sell a lot of things. I sold Illuvium at like, if I hadn't have sold Illuvium, I sold Illuvium at 1200, and I had like 40 grand in there. It was a lot of money to me at the time, and if I hadn't have sold that, I would have lost most of my gains just holding on to the belief and euphoria. Luckily I sold that, because in my head I actually said at the time, because I had a small community at the time, and I said I don't think this is the top, right? I said, I think we're going to go higher. I'm just DCAing out here and taking profits because it's a lot of money to me and I don't want to lose it. And I might be wrong. I was convinced at the time we were going to go higher on Illuvium. I was like, crypto gaming is going to take over the world. It's the next best thing. And I still forced myself to take some profits off the table. I sold all my land in Sandbox. And I feel sorry for the person who bought it off me. I sold a piece of land for like $14,000. And I think today, guys, I think it's worth like $100. I don't even know. I don't even want to look at the prices of land in Sandbox. I sold a stupid piece of digital land that it's not even real. It doesn't mean anything. It's a digital NFT piece of land. It was quite close to Snoop Dogg's property, so it had some value. And I sold it for $14,000. And last time I checked, it was like $2,000, and that was ages ago. So I don't even want to know what that is now. And the bear market will surpass your wildest beliefs. Even like when we come down to these levels, last crash, altcoins got decimated. And down here, altcoins were decimated. But when we started to come down here, people just were you were in disbelief here at the prices of altcoins, and then you're in extreme disbelief here, and they just keep going down and down and down. And then you look back at these charts and you're like, how was this even possible? How were we going up over and over again when there's just no interest in the markets? There's no interest in crypto. So that's it for guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you want to jump in the Discord, there's a link below so you can jump in our Discord. We've just added some really cool features in here. We've got liquidity sniping section now, where we've got all the settings on how to snipe liquidity, and you can see the guys here are busy sniping a lot of the smart money wallets. As you know, we track a lot of the smart money on chain. And they are sniping away. We also have hired a professional leverage trader. So the leverage trader is dropping their leverage trades, and they've been absolutely killing it. The guys have been making some dough on their trades. So we're always upgrading. I'm going to upgrade this throughout the bear market. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep working every day throughout the bear market, because next cycle I plan to make generational wealth, because I've taken profits off the table. I've got money ready to go back into the market, and the whole thing's going to happen again, right? The whole thing is going to happen again, especially if we get the banks coming in next cycle. It's going to be insane. It's not going to be I don't think it's going to be quite as easy as this cycle, because we have max dilution, and we're going to have even more tokens. There's going to be more pump funds. There's going to be maybe tens of millions of tokens. It's going to be degenerate, but I believe that there is going to be opportunities in specific genres, right? Specific niches. So we got some cool stuff in here. We've got smart alerts in real time, so you can see what's going on. You can see a lot of what's going on the chain. So for example, Trump has CEX inflows of 49 million. So you can see when loads of tokens are being added by smart money wallets onto exchanges. You can even see retail inflows as well. So if we look at the retail inflows here, this is all like real time as well. So you can see Fresh Wallets received 690,000 of Pepu. So then we would go and see what's Pepu, what's GMT, etc, etc. So if you join, have a scroll through, because we've got so many different things. You can see my entire portfolio, my buy alerts, my sell alerts when I'm taking profits off the table. And we've got an amazing bunch in here, really amazing bunch. It's pretty much a really tight-knit family, and a lot of them are smart as well, right? Because they've constantly studied, they've researched. Everybody wants to learn how to track wallets, to track on chain liquidity. What's the volume like, what's the liquidity like? So we've got a really good bunch finding gems, and I'm not going to find everything. A lot of these guys have brought gems to me. One of the guys actually bought baby Pepe to me, and I looked into it and I was like, wow, this is a play, and it ended up doing a 50x, right? So yeah, really good alpha from everybody in the Discord. That doesn't mean that everything's going to be good, right? So always do your own research. Again, guys, everything I say in this video is not financial advice. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. You can lose all your money in crypto. These are just my strategies. These are just what I'm doing. I hope it carries on pumping from here. I really do. And if it doesn't, then I've de-risked and I've taken some off the table. That's it for now. Catch you in the next one.